Good morning to all. So we are at the another new topic that was mainly about so the geography over, and so we are discussing about the evolution, and so what is mean by evolution. Today we are going to discuss about the complete topic that was about the evolution now. So what is mean by evolution? So what is the evolution? Today's our topic that is completely about the evolution, and so in these mainly Lamarckism, Neo-Lamarckism, Darwinism and Neo-Darwinism, modern synthetic theory, and evidences of evolution. So these are the topics of included inside the evolution process. So the evolution what was mainly by the Lamarck and Huxley. So these are two scientists. The Lamarck that was mainly today we are complete. Yesterday we are complete. That is about third unit now. So this is the evolution topic was completely about the unit 4. It was the last and final unit. Now we are discussing. So those are completely about the evolution, types of evolutions and the force of evolution, that is the genetic drift, so gene pool, so those, and Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, and so those are the topics, pre-mating and post-mating isolation. So these are the topics involved inside the unit 4, last and final unit. So yesterday we are complete, that is about the geographical regions and the Ethiopian region fauna, Australian region fauna, and Oriental region animal fauna, and Wallace line, discontinuous distribution, continental drift. So those are the topics involved inside the unit 3. So today we are now discussing and started our last and final unit, unit 4, and the first topic is totally about the evolution process. So the evolution was nothing but the changes so from their ancestor generation to their offspring, there is a present generation, some of the changes. So in the previous era, in the previous age, so the previous organisms, so the human beings or any other organism, their habitats, and so those are living mechanism, and so the completely, so those are completely changed from the so the previous human beings. The previous human beings are there, the first human beings are there. So those are completely vary from the present generation was completely so the vary. Most of the differences are there from our previous one, from our the previous organisms, ancestors, and the present organisms. Most of the changes are there. So these changes are considered here as the evolution. So some of the changes, some of the organism was going to perform different types of the functions for their living mechanism, for the capturing of the food material. Some other reason, due to some other reasons, some of the organisms are newly formed for the surviving. So newly formed so that the hand-like structures are formed for capturing of the food material. So those are newly formed by the organisms, and those organs are may not be presented on their ancestors. So those then what happened? Their ancestor population was completely separate from the present generation. So those are completely vary. Those are completely variated, and those are completely differentiated. So these are it was nothing but, these phenomena was nothing but evolution. The evolution was nothing but completely the population was differentiated. So it was it become converted to an, so that was a completely a new population was generated. A new population was generated here. So the type of phenomena was considered here as evolution. So those evolution by the Lamarck, and also by the so Lamarck and so the Darwin. So Darwin and the Lamarck was explained about the, so these evolution process, mainly the Lamarck was explained about the Lamarck, so that's why the phenomena was Lamarckism. So the Lamarckism was mainly depends upon the some other organisms are newly formed. So these what happens is it was mainly the Lamarckism was mainly occurred in the organisms are used or so not used. So any other organs. So the newly formed organs and the another organs are some other. So these are the Lamarckism. The main some of the examples are there by the Lamarckism. Those are xerophy. So in xerophy, so the xerophy in their ancestors, the xerophy ancestors may not be possess the long neck. The long neck absent and their ancestors, but now the present xerophy may contain the, so the long neck. See here. So that was possess the a long neck to the, so the xerophy, it may possess the long neck. So these long neck may not be presented on their ancestors. Why? Because their ancestors, so may mainly the neck become very long inside the xerophy, that due to the, so their so that was mainly lived the areas or so it there, so those areas may contain the trees mainly larger trees. So that was it was going to collect the leaves from their larger trees. So it was going to enlarge their neck region. Due to that reason, so the nervous flow, the nervous fluid was increased. The nervous fluid flow was increased to the neck region, then that leads to cause the enlargement of their neck region in the present generation. So on their ancestors, that long neck may not be presented, that may not be observed on their ancestors. Why? Because those their ancestors may collect the food material from the so those are easily available to the surface vegetation, means so their food materials are easily available on the surface of the earth. So that was may not be going to enlarge their neck region. There is no use to enlarge their neck region. But so in the present generation, so the leaves, the food material, so the giraffe was used to capture the food material, that is mainly from the based upon the vegetarian parts. So mainly upon the leaves. So those are areas or the leaves or higher trees, larger trees are there. So for the collection of the leaves, so that was used to enlarge their neck region. The nervous fluid is also increased to that area. So due to that reason, that was leads to cause the enlargement of their neck region. So it was used to extend their neck region, so that may now the giraffe may possess the long neck. So that is a main reason for the containing of a giraffe to the long neck. So it is a evolution. It was considered as a evolution from their ancestors. Somewhat development was take place from their previous organisms. That development was considered here as evolution. That was mainly explained about the Lamarck and the Lamarckism. That was considered here as a Lamarckism. So another examples are also there. Some of the snakes, snake population. The snakes in the previous one, so the snakes are be like this. So that was may possess the larger, that was the neck region. So some of the patches are also presented on the surface of their body. So the snakes are so they may not be possess the that was the appendages. That may not present the legs. So in their previous, their ancestor organisms, the legs are presented. 2 pairs of legs are presented inside their ancestors. So in the snake population, the ancestors of the snakes, so in the previous organisms, they may contain the mainly they may contain the their that was 2 pairs of legs are presented in the previous snakes. But now, so we can't observe any legs on the to the snakes. Now the snakes may not be possess any types of the legs. The locomotory organs are completely absent in the now the present snakes. So that is also one of the development. Why? Because so they may not be use their legs for walk. They may not be use their legs for walk. Due to that reason, so gradually those legs are become vestigial. The legs become vestigial. means so those are completely so removed from the bodies of the fish, the snakes. Now the present generation snakes may not be contain any types of the legs, but their ancestor may contain the legs. Two pairs of legs are presented inside their ancestor of a snake population. But no, from the snake population to the previous era, so present era completely, so those population was completely variated. So from their ancestor generation to the present generation, so most of the differences are there, that is that the legs were completely so degenerated, the completely those are vestigial, may not be used, that is why those are completely going to be disappeared now. So now these population, the present snake population was so able to, we can able to separate from the previous organisms, the previous snakes, that is nothing but that is evolution. So that is the evolution. Why? Because their ancestors and the present snakes are completely different. They may not be going to be combined with each other. They may not be going to be resembled with each other. These are completely make a new population. So it was this type of development was again explained by the Lamarck and the Lamarckism. And another examples are also there. So now the another example, that is a cave dwellers, means some of the insects and some of the organisms are lived inside the cave. So they may form the, so they are going to dig some of the, they can able to form the, so in the deep the earth region, so they can able to form the cave on the below the earth region. So then what happens is so for that reason, so those are able to live inside the caves. They are completely so adapted to live inside the caves. So due to the protection of from their enemies and due to some other unfavorable conditions to protect themselves from their bodies. So due to that reason, some of the organisms are completely lived inside the caves. So they may not be came out from their cave. So due to that reason, what happens? The cave become very dark. The cave become, so why? Because the sun rays may not be penetrated and entered into those caves. So that is why that area become very dark. So due to that reason, so they may lost their eyesight. So in the previous generation, they completely lost their eyesight. Why? Because they are always lived inside the dark areas. So there is no usage for the light to the, they can able to watch with the help of usage of their eyes. So due to that reason, gradually what happens is so they lost their completely, they lost their eyesight due to, so their previous organisms may contain a particular eyes and eyesight, but their present generation may not be contained a particular eyes and they may not be possess a particular eyesight. So that was so that those changes are occurred inside a particular organism. Those changes are completely hereditary. So those are inherited. So those are transmitted through their offspring generation also. If the snake population, the snakes are completely, those legs are in the vestigial condition and their offspring generation, so they may not be going to be contain any types of the legs. So why? Because so in the due to their population, due to their offspring generation, those are going to be transmitted, that particular characters are going to be circulated, going to be transmitted from the one generation to the another generation. So that was explained by the Darwin and the Darwinism. So Darwinism was completely based upon the hereditary. So, but the Lamarckism may not be so based upon the hereditary on the so it was a completely the Darwin was explained about these particular evolution based upon the so those may possess the genetical structure the completely so the changes of the genetical structures that's why the mechanism of organism their phenotypic means their external characters are going to be changed. So, that was explained by the Darwin and that was considered here as a Darwinism and Lamarckism some amount of the development should be takes place from the Lamarckism that was a neo-Lamarckism and the Darwinism also the most advanced stage of Darwinism was explained by the again by the Darwin that was considered here as a neo-Darwinism means neo means new means some of the Lamarckism some he leftover things are again explained and a particular proofs are again so particular information and perfect information was got so those are explained by the neo-Lamarckism. Now the new information was explained by this Lamarck, now that was a Lamarckism and the new information was explained by the Darwin, that is a neo-Darwinism. Some of the changes are occurred from the Lamarckism to the neo-Lamarckism and the Darwinism to the neo-Darwinism. So these are the some of the changes may takes place from the Lamarckism to the neo-Lamarckism, Darwinism to the neo-Darwinism. The cave dwellers, so those are completely lost their eyesight gradually. So those are so actually the completely each and every organism may contain the so that may possess a particular eyes and eyesight is there, but they may not be going to be use their eyesight. They completely lived inside the dark areas. So gradually they lost their eyesight. It is one of the also development and so it is these population was completely vary from their ancestor generation. So the new populations are occurred from their previous organism to the present generation. And some of the seabirds, mainly the sea duck. So that may formed a long beak, that may possess a long beak. So these was helpful for the capturing of the food material easily. So their ancestors may contain a small beak, but they may possess they may going to be enlarged. So due to the for the capturing of the food material, what happens is so their so organs are completely going to be so enlarged. Their beak region was going to be enlarged, that is the beak inside the seabirds. So it is also helpful for the capturing of food material. So those population was completely vary from their younger generation. So in these are the and some of the ostrich birds. So ostrich birds is also one of the example for so and some of the seabirds also possess the webbed toes. So these webbed toes are also helpful for the so they can able to stay on the nearby the surface areas of the water for the capturing of the food material. So these are also newly formed organs on the seabirds. So these are also vary from their younger than their ancestor generation, and this is also one of the example. And in the previous era, in the previous generation of the ostrich, so ostrich was may consider flightless bird. It was the flightless bird. Actually, ostrich is one of the bird. So bird population, it is completely belongs to the birds. It may also possess wings. The wings are also presented inside the ostrich bird. So, but hence the ostrich may not be going to be fly in the air. Actually, the birds, the birds are all the birds become going to be fly freely on the air. So, due to their light weight of their body and due to presence of their wings, they can able to fly in air. But ostrich belong to the birds family, birds population, hence it may not be going to be fly in air. So, due to some other reasons. Why? Because it may possess the wings. The wings are helpful for the flying on air. But so the ostrich was lived nearby the, so due to higher food sources. So, the food sources are become very high to the ostrich. The food sources are become very high and so those are efficient. So, efficient food supplements are so available to the these ostrich. So, due to that reason what happens is there is no reason to the fly in the air. There is no reason, there is no so use for flying inside the air. Actually, the birds can fly in the air for protect themselves from their enemies and they can able to transmit from unfavorable condition to the favorable conditions and for the capturing of the food material. These are the reasons for flying inside the air, but the ostrich was lived inside the so very efficient food materials. So, particular so plenty of food materials nearby, the plenty of food materials, that is why so that may not be going to be fly, there is no need to fly inside the air, that is why. So, gradually what happens is their body become very large. So, the body or completely become enlarged and so due to that reason hence it may possess the wings, but it cannot be used to fly inside the air with the help of their wings. So, the ostrich was completely become now the ostrich become flightless bird. It was included inside the flightless. So, why? Because it was it may not be going to be used so their wings. So, due to these reasons what happens is the ostrich belongs to the birds family, but it may not be going to be fly inside the air. So, it is also one of the development, it is also one of the some of the changes which are takes place inside the so mainly inside the in the present and so those are comes under the Lamarckism. These are also comes under the Lamarckism. So, the main difference between the Lamarckism and the Darwinism, and that is the neo-Lamarckism and the neo-Darwinism. The mainly the Lamarck was explained the evolution without any hereditary. So, without any hereditary, the organisms may going to be, so they formed their so conformed they evolved. So, they are going to show some time, some amount of the development from their previous one to the present generation. So, that may not be based upon the gene and the genetical structure. So, that was Lamarckism. But the Darwinism was so it was coincided with the coordinated with the that was Mendelian laws. The Mendelian laws are completely based upon the genetical structure. So, each and every character was exposed from the their previous generation to the younger generation, that was mainly occurred with the help of the structure of the genes only, the structure of the genes only. So, that was mainly the Darwinism and Mendelian laws almost same. So, the Darwin and the Mendel, so both scientists was explained about the, so that was mainly each and every character the changes are occurred, that is phenotypic and the genotypic changes are occurred in a population, that is due to the those changes are mainly based upon the their genetical structure. So, that was mainly, so the Darwinism was mainly explained about the each and every character, that was mainly by the inheritance, by the so acquiring each and every character from their parent generation from their parent generation to the offspring generation, parent generation to their offspring generation, due to the so inheritance by the acquired characters received, so the characters from their younger from their parent to offspring, that was mainly occurred due to the inheritance based upon the structure of the, that was mainly the chromosomes. The chromosomes represent the genes. The genes are mainly precursor for the formation of each and every new character, and those characters are mainly formed so their traits. So with the help of their traits, those traits are so transmitted from the one generation to the another generation, then only the characters are changed, then only the organ formation, the new organ formation was developed on their organisms. That was explained by the Darwinism. The Darwinism was near by the Mendelian laws. So but it was completely vary from the Lamarckism. The Lamarck was explained the evolution, but without any that was without in the evidences, or mainly that was mainly helpful, that was so for the usage and the not use, that is use and that was no use. So the usage of particular organs are going to be evolved. So if we use so particular organs, so particularly that was so then frequently used, then those particular organ become strengthened and that become converted to an particular another so strength give us to the particular strength, and that was evolved, that was developed, and that was transmitted to their next generation. But that is no evidence for inheritance. But so Lamarck is, that was Darwinism was explained these characterization, that is main the characters of each and every organism was going to be transmitted from their parent generation to their offspring generation. That should be happened due to the occurrence, due to the presence of the genes only. That was completely based upon the structure of the genes only. So that was mainly by the Darwinism. So these are the main variations, these are the main differences between the Darwinism and the Neo-Darwinism, Lamarckism and the Neo-Lamarckism. And another topic is also there, that is a modern synthetic theory. The modern synthetic theory, it was also it was also going to explain mainly with the help of modern synthetic theory. It was completely about the information, those are the changes. So in a new population, what are the changes are takes place from their offspring, from their previous ancestor generation to the present generation. So those are completely going to be explained so in the modern synthetic theory. Those are completely explained mainly in the modern synthetic theory. It was by the modern synthetic theory. The modern synthetic theory was mainly explained about the particular what are the new characters are gained by the each and every organism. So that was completely vary. So if their ancestor population and the present population and the middle, so the moderate organisms are also shows that they can become converted to a particular population, a new population. So it was vary from their older population. So the organisms are same, but so their population due to the some for the occurrence of or the acquiring of a new some of the characters from their generations and from their needy characters also. So for the capturing of the food material. So some other due to some other reasons for the surviving nature, for the surviving in an ecosystem. So the organism possess some of the organs, and some of the organisms are going to lost their so actual organs are going to be lost, and some of the organs are newly formed for their surveillance. So mainly inside the surviving of in an ecosystem, so they may possess the different types of the characters. So these are completely concerned, these are explained about the modern synthetic theory, how their ancestor population was completely vary from the new population. So in these generation, so in these types are completely vary from their younger generation and the different population. Some of the human beings may contain the that was mainly so different organs are there, different organisms are there. So in the particular the climatic conditions also the population become very so it was the population, the habitats and their climatic conditions are also make the population was completely vary from one area to the another area. So these are the some of the changes are so explained inside the modern synthetic theory. So they mainly the snake may lost their legs, and the cave dwellers mainly presented inside the cave, those insect like organisms completely lost their eyesight. So gradually that was they lost their eyesight, snake lost their legs, so those become vestigial. So means they may not be going to be use their legs, their appendages for walking. So that's why gradually those organs become vestigial, they may not be going to be so survived, they may not be going to be used by the organism. So their next generation, their offspring generation may not be contained any legs, so any appendages. So it is some of the reasons, means their needy characters are helpful to form their new characters. So webbed toes inside the seabirds, and their beak, long beak, and the xerophy, long neck. So their ancestor may not possess their long neck. So these are the some of the changes which are going to be observed mainly inside the population. That was mainly explained about the evolution and Lamarckism, and so the new so the new completely phenomena about the Lamarckism, that is the neo-Lamarckism, and the Darwinism. Some of the new characterism, so information about the Darwinism, that is about the neo-Darwinism. Some of the changes are occurred from the Darwinism to the neo-Darwinism and the Lamarckism to the neo-Lamarckism. It is a today's topic. Today, so we are completed up to the modern synthetic theory. So tomorrow we are going to discuss about the another topic, that is the evidences of evolution. Today's topic is over. We will meet tomorrow. Thank you.